Awkward.
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 Again, if you feel awkward, you can always hold Ethan's hand.
Can you not?
Come on, man. We are men here. Apart from, of course.
You can hold hands tight. Hi everyone, welcome back to the grind. Today, I'm again with some of my favorite people in the world.
Aww.
You're welcome.
Just some.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
He once told me the world is gonna roll me.
I believe
It just came out, I'm sorry.
somebody.
No, I understand.
Okay, cool. I was going to say we're going to have a deep and meaningful conversation, but it looks like we're off to a great start. So, but to start off with a deep and meaningful conversation. All right, so Pastor Ed was talking about something deep and meaningful. Yes, Jesus. And making it a habit. Sorry, I was paying attention, okay? It's just brain lapse.
I really hope so.
Yes.
Pastor Petrina.
Yes, so Jesus made it a habit to not only attend the synagogue, but to also participate
He
in
did the
synagogue.
readings.
Yes, he did all of that. And one of the interesting things that Pastor brought up was the whole thing of isolation being a new theme of our time, which is very true.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we talked about isolation a couple of years ago. We were like, whatevs. But I think it's an ongoing thing. Isolation is it's not like a 2023 situation, but I think it was very highlighted in the past 3 years because of all the physical distancing that has happened. So what effect have you seen isolation have on you?
I think if I'm going to be looking at it in a more practical perspective, it feels awkward.
Being isolated?
No, being with
like
a group of people.
Coming
Yeah.
back
Coming
to
back?
people.
Oh.
Yeah, like going back to normal and stuff
Yeah.
like especially now that we've taken off masks and then, like it's just
I know it
Whew.
is.
I don't know
It's
the
like
feeling.
so freeing to not have the mask, but also like
cautious.
like not cautious, like I'm stepping
And then
out
before
into-
you used to like, but it, you're being careful.
But if I were to do that loudly, then people actually create space for me because I have no
You
mask.
got the whole
Yeah.
space in the MCR
Exactly.
station.
That's
Yeah.
I mean,
that's the sure.
That is the
of-
benefit of,
Yeah.
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 It's weird. It's really strange because we had 2 long periods of like not seeing any
Faces.
And mind you, that's
Yeah.
someone from someone who is an introvert
Oh.
saying as
Yeah,
well.
it's really odd. But because we also had 2 long periods where we were just at home,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right, with our families or like, alone. Like, I do remember like sort of dreading going back to work, not because we were going back to work,
Yeah.
but like.
Coming up your man cave.
Yeah. Because also, we had a period where we would work like Tuesday, Wednesday or something, and then I wouldn't see the light after I went home on Wednesday night until the next Tuesday.
Yeah.
And that was really weird.
And even actually coming back to work sometimes, like because we had rosters, right? Like
Yeah.
when you get to the office, you're the only one on desk.
Oh yeah, so
Like-
you're still
You're
isolated.
still isolated,
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
exactly.
separated
True.
from people. Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of being isolated was quite foreign for me. Yes, parents were not at home; they were away. So number one, it took a bit of time. I'm not saying a lot of time to get used to living by myself completely. But yes, there was still community where work and kingdom group and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But then with the pandemic, it was like,
Where did everybody go?
Where did everybody go? And then there was no divide between work and rest because everything just blended into one.
Yeah.
And so, again, took another bit of time to navigate. The effect that it had on me was I needed to know how to manage my time. So I need
Yeah.
to actually like plan my day. Like, okay, so from this time to this, I'm doing this. I will stop work at this time. I will eat at this time, and I also like isolate the space. Like, this is where I do work. This is where I don't do work.
Oh,
Because I also
Right.
didn't want to associate my bedroom as
Yeah,
a workplace.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So if you go to work, that's it's a separation that work is work place and home is home. But obviously, I mean, I still bring work to a home to do that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
And I think mental health-wise, it was, I think I was all over the place. Because you're just alone with your thoughts.
Yeah.
And my imagination can run wild, right? And I think I've shared with this before. I was like, I just imagine like the ways I could have died and no one would find my body.
Gosh,
right?
I hate to be stuck in your head.
That's the effect of isolation. You just start thinking like wild thoughts, like I'm all alone. Who's going to find me if I fall off? And
imagination.
And I thought my thoughts were dark. All I was thinking, like, imagining myself in like a zombie apocalypse or something, and then I'm the hero or something.
Yeah, apparently not. That is relatively lighter compared to the alternative.
I mean, you got to start thinking something, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
When you're
That's true.
all alone with your thoughts.
Yeah.
Especially for you, since your family's away as well.
Yeah. Again, it doesn't help when you like also watch reality TV series where about single women being targeted by serial killers.
Yeah, you see, this is why reality TV is not good for us as a society.
Okay, it wasn't reality TV. It was a drama based on inspired by true events.
Just watch documentaries about whales. Or something.
That would have been better.
Yeah.
So that was not helpful during the time being in isolation watching that. So when I threw out the trash, I was like making sure that there was no one behind me or anything. Like I was zoom up and like in and out of the door. Like I listen.
Making sure that you're locking the doors and windows and stuff. Yeah.
That was the effect that isolation had on me. But okay, so
Thanks for sharing that. That was really
just,
good.
It was just going down a rabbit hole of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, no one needs to know the extent of my life. Yeah, we're gonna move on. Okay, so but what effect does isolation have on our spiritual lives?
I think it makes it in a way it makes your own quiet time
Quieter?
yes, but in a way more important, but to maybe an unhealthy extent, because that is all you've got. You don't have like a physical community or people to be around. Of course we had our online solutions. Like this was born out of all of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Sure.
We have a church online, we've got our Zoom home groups, but like I don't think anybody, even when it started, was like, yeah, let's do this forever, because we all know it's not the same. Isolation takes the community aspect out of your spiritual life, and it is maybe a lot more important and a lot bigger than we probably initially thought.
I don't know why I ever leave this place. I've got all the company I need right here. Hello! Hello!
That's good. I think also one thing that isolation sort of helped me is, of course, one thing is you don't really have excuse to not be able to commune with God. Like you have your own time.
Yeah.
Of course, with time management, because you have to manage your work and everything, but you have this space or room for you to be able to just get connected with God and just read His Word and stuff like that. But at the same time, I felt like it was also a way. It sort of helped me to figure out how do I be able to lead myself.
Yeah.
Like because I remember one pastor mentioned to me, like, how can you be able to lead a group if you cannot lead yourself in terms of even just being disciplined by yourself. So I think that's one thing, and of course I'm still learning, and it's still a process, but then I think this is one thing that really sort of triggered during the time when I was isolated. So,
Yeah.
I think isolation taught me to to manage my own faith. Like, in the sense, now because of all the time that I have in my hands, I need to figure out, like, when am I going to spend time with God?
Yeah.
Like, and actually carving in time, right? You can just be like, I'll just leave it at this time, but then that was it. But then everything can just, other things with your precedence. And then, so in a way, isolation taught me to manage my time better and to schedule time in. On the other hand, it also forced me to reach out to people when I needed them, because when you're surrounded by people it's easy. You can be like, oh, by the way, I'm going through this. But then, you know, when you're isolated and when you're going through like a mental crisis, it takes even more effort to be like, okay, I need to reach out to someone to say like, hey, I need some prayer. I need to process something.
Yeah.
Because it's not as easy as like rocking up and be like, hey, let's have a meal. And the next day when you meet up with someone. So I think that was an effect that it had on my life. And for some people, they would think like, oh, isolation is fine, you know, not much in my spiritual life, because yeah, me and God, it's my own personal thing, right? So why do I need to involve people if it's a personal thing, a relationship that I have? But if there's anything that
Sorry, because you're doing
if it's a personal thing.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why I did that. I was like trying to make a point. But like, what was it? Pastor said, he said that your faith is personal, but it's never private.
Yeah.
So it's something that's to make known.
He sort of said it similar to when you're doing baptism, right?
Yeah,
like when you're being baptized.
Yeah. Yes.
But interesting enough, like, why do you think then, even though yes, we know that isolation is the best and blah 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 blah, why do you think some people still choose it anyways?
Choose isolation?
Yeah.
I guess one thing is they just don't want to be bothered.
They don't bother, just get lazy.
I think the appeal is that life is simpler when you're by yourself.
Yeah.
No drama.
Yeah, no drama, no people to have to take care of, no people's feelings to have to take into consideration. You just got to look after
yourself,
one person.
Yeah.
Rather than
multiple relationships.
More.
Yeah.
4 o'clock, wallow in self-pity. 4:30, stare into the abyss. 6:30, dinner with me. I can't cancel that again.
Yeah.
So, and I know that sometimes it does take a risk to get out of isolation, to get plugged in community. So how do you even get over the mental obstacle of joining community?
I think one thing is, I mean, I don't know if this is right or anything, but it's just like being able to establish a relationship. Like, that one is a process itself. Like, it takes a while for you to be able to get connected with people more.
Yeah.
And that itself already is a challenge, what more during the isolation. But yeah, it is a process. Like for example, like for you guys, I know that you've had experiences where you only met a few people during the pandemic. And the fact that you haven't met them physically, you've only met them through, I don't know, through Zoom or just WhatsApp or everything or anything, and then meeting them physically, it's another step. Like you almost start that relationship again.
Yeah.
So I think establishing a relationship, that's one thing for me. I think.
Yeah. I think everyone has like a threshold for isolation. Like for some people, it's like it's huge, and they love it. But I think everyone will at some point hit breaking point when it becomes detrimental.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then there, I think the biggest obstacle then, I think, is just asking for help. When I said like one step at a time, it was like sort of not a joke, because like sometimes you just reach out to one person.
Yeah.
And then, because by definition, if you're with someone else, you're already outside of isolation.
Yeah.
It's done, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's all it takes, and then you can start building your community back up again. And I think we've all had to do that in one way or another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, besides the pandemic, I was in a season of isolation, especially when I moved back to Hong Kong, not knowing anyone. Like, I didn't exactly have that tight of connection with ICA at that point.
Yeah.
Even though, yes, grew up at the church, but I was just a lone wolf, I guess. And so during that time, being jobless, being like no church community, I was just, I would say, quite isolated.
Sure.
And,
Yeah.
and also, I just didn't want to. It just seems like too much effort.
Yeah.
To get back to church community. Also, I think it's like, oh, it's so awkward. I don't know people. And, and I don't know if I want to put myself out there because, you know, I've had, you know, not so great interactions, you know, with being the new person. You have the whole list of excuses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then.
But aren't you glad you did?
Yeah. Hence why you're here.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. amazing, exciting, so excited. But I think honestly, it was the sheer nagging of people that got me out.
Yeah.
Because that time, young adults, they were meeting at a facility in Wan Chai, and I was like, oh, I don't want to go. It's so awkward. I hate being like the person to walk into the doors and be like the new person.
Yeah.
But through the sheer nagging of some people at church and my madre, I was like, fine, I'll give it a chance. And yeah, that was the start of me opening up into being in community. And I think sometimes the power of nagging works to get you off your butt, because I think during that time of isolation, I was just at home watching a lot of Korean dramas.
Wow.
Yeah.
But to your point, I think this is why it's really important for us to not only like look after ourselves, but to like
Look out for
see the person who's stuck at home watching K-dramas
yeah.
and like
Get out.
welcome
Leave.
them back to society.
Yeah.
Do the nagging.
Hello. I was like, hello, come back.
Yeah, I think it's really important to like reach out to those people who are just stuck, because sometimes we all just need a little bit of help. We just need a push.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's right. Definitely. That's why people giving that little push helps. And I think also like ways to get involved, also that invitation to invite people to be part of something.
Yeah.
Because I think if it wasn't for, when I was in Seattle, it wasn't for that pastor or like my friend who kind of like, hey, would you like to help out in serving our middle school ministry, I think my faith would have looked really different.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
it was when I started to serve, and that's when it took off. My faith took off,
Right.
and I grew, and I was serving a group of individuals that were really random. It was a couple of med students, a nurse, a dentist. It was a mixed bag, but I loved serving with them, and I've learned so much. And so I was appreciative of that being pushed into serving.
No, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely getting involved helps as well. And I suppose that all ties in at the end of the day to share the good news, to
Yeah.
encourage people.
Yeah.
Like for you guys, how would you see that pan out? Like sharing the good news, like telling people about Jesus, being, I guess, the Jesus to someone.
I think one of the things, like for example, during the isolation, like what Nathan was saying, that a lot of people are just like in search for something, and sometimes they're in need. And I think, especially during the isolation period, it was the perfect time for you to reach out to people. And it doesn't necessarily need to be like you need Jesus straight away. It's more of like just being there, telling them, hey dude, how's it going, man? How are you doing? You doing all right? And you can just start sharing a bit of the gospel, like just letting you know that we love you and we care for you, and if there's anything you need, let us know, and yeah, just try to get in touch with us, and like what the Bible says, 2 or 3 gathered in your name, He's in their midst, and I believe that God is with us.
Yeah.
Because
So I think that's the
there's strength in numbers, right?
Yeah.
And sharing the gospel, or however you want to phrase it, it can be quite intimidating.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
But because there's strength in numbers and in community, if you're around people who are going towards the same goal,
Yeah.
whether
That's
it's
good.
at home or on missions or whatever, it is easier to do when you're with
Group of
others.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Like I remember it was with a small group of people, and there was one person amongst us who she's not like against Christianity, but she's open to it, and I think she was just asking questions, and I think just being able to share, like bounce off each other, like because there's 3 of us that were Christian, one of them was not, and we're not trying to convert her or anything like that, but we're just sharing our experiences, and I think just bouncing off of like our joy and our excitement about Jesus, it really was like, yeah, you're excited, I'm excited too, and then it kind of like rubs off each other and kind of shows her, like the person, hey, like this is what being excited for Jesus means to all of us, because all of our stories are really different.
Yeah.
And I think it was really just a joy to talk about Jesus with her that way. So yeah, I think when you're in isolation, like how are you supposed to in a way impact the world? I mean, they might argue like, oh yeah, from my computer, from social. I mean, okay, yeah, that's the extent. But I think stronger relationships are developed in the context of community. And also, I think when you have that time with people, it really gives you that relational equity to talk about Jesus.
Amen.
And so that's the end goal, is to, Jesus was with the people to share the good news, not to just be like, I'm here, I'm going to do my thing, by people. But he really was with the people to show that he loved and that he cared, that he really came to seek them and to save them.
Yeah,
So,
amen.
yep, isolation, yes, may be the new theme, may be something that we have to deal with, but we're not meant to be isolated. So, yeah. Thanks for a deep and meaningful conversation, guys.
It was a deep and meaningful sermon.
Amen.
Yes, amen. All right. Thanks for joining us, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.